Greetings, fam. Today's video presentation is entitled A Lesson from Shakespeare, and it's actually not from the playwright Shakespeare. It's a lesson from a brother who lived named Abraham Shakespeare. A little background on Abraham Shakespeare. He was a day laborer. He dropped out of school in the seventh grade. And one of the messages in this story is that young people, get your education. Now, I know school is difficult and some of you have jobs and school, and it may be hard to juggle both things. But the worst thing you can do in this life is be illiterate. Not only do you open the doors to people taking advantage of you, but you are ignorant to things that you need to know in order to just live a productive life. If anything, at least learn how to read and learn how to do math. Those are the two most important things that you will need as you go through life. You will need to not only learn how to read, but also how to comprehend. So you want to be able to understand things. And the other thing is that you want to be able to know math. So you can count your money if the Lord blesses you with money in this lifetime. And this is what happened to Mr. Shakespeare. He was blessed. He was blessed with a winning of $30 million in the lottery. And as a result of this blessing, his life changed enormously. And I want to say this too, this was a good, decent brother. With his shortcomings, he may not have known how to read or write, but he was a God-fearing man. He took the lump sum in the $17 million cash payout. You get the option of whether or not you want to keep the money, wait and get the payouts over time, or if you want a lump sum. So he chose the lump sum, which was still pretty nice. 17 million is a lot. And to show you what type of a decent fellow he was, the store where he bought the ticket, he went back and gave the store owner $1 million. And his reasoning for this was that when him and his mother were down and out, sometimes they couldn't pay for their groceries, and the proprietor of the store would give them credit. And so he never forgot that. And when he got his winnings, he went all around town giving people money, even people he didn't know. He just was generous. And when his girlfriend asked him, "Why are you giving away your money? Don't you know these people will come back again and again?" And he said, "I do it because that's what God would want me to do." And I'm not sure if I'm quoting him 100% accurately, but the bottom line was that he was God-fearing, and he felt that God had given him the money not to be selfish, but to give it away. And so he became known in his town for being this generous fellow and being very trusting. And unfortunately, this would lead to his demise because he met this woman. Now, mind you, he had a girlfriend, but this woman came with a lie. She came pretending that she was going to publish a book about him. He bought into the lie. And if he done his due diligence, he would have realized that this woman was a con artist. She had been arrested for writing bad checks. She also was a liar. And she had been arrested for lying in an investigation. So there were many aspects to this woman that he did not know. But because she had pulled herself up by her boots and had a little company of her own, and apparently it was doing pretty well. So she came to him disguised as an angel when she was the devil. And this is the other thing, this is the other message in today's lesson, is that the enemy comes as a sheep in wolf's clothing. And some people know this and have the power of discernment, and they're looking out for these things. But then there are those of us who do not recognize the enemy when he comes disguised as a sheep. That's what he comes disguised as. And as a result, we become beguiled by whatever it is this person is selling, because we want to believe that they have our best intentions at heart, but they don't. And so despite this woman having her own successful business and her own money, it was not enough. And hence lies another moral to the story: greed. Greed can get you in more trouble than had you just not even had at all. And this is what happened with Mr. Shakespeare. As he began this ride on the lotto train, he began to regret winning because he could not have any peace, any rest. And people were coming all out of the woodwork, and it became very tiresome to him. So this woman told him, look, you know what? I can help you if you sign your money over to me and let me manage it. I will keep these people off your back. The problem with that is that was not her intention. This is what she told him, but it wasn't her intention. Her intention all along was to relieve him of his money. There's a euphemism that I quote often, and I'm going to quote it right here. When a person with experience meets a person with money, the person with the experience walks away with the money, and the person with the money walks away with the experience. And how great it would have been if Abraham Shakespeare was just allowed to walk away with the experience. But that was not to be. This low-lifed woman did not stop until she killed him. And from what I understand, the end result of this happening was the fact that she didn't want to give him his money back. When he realized that she had stolen all his money and the house he had bought for himself, she had conned him into giving it to her. She had him sign papers giving the house to her, his cars, and all of his money. She had so convincingly did the paperwork that she was able to go to his bank and withdraw money and write checks against his account that was now hers. And I blame the bank too. Now, this was in 2009, where my bank, if I try to order food online, they will freeze it and contact me and ask me if I made the order before they will approve the amount, even if I have the money in my account, which sometimes I don't have it in my account, but I have overdraft protection so that I can eat. Where was that? Where was that protection with this bank? So I blame them. And I'm positive, had it been the other way around, had he been the one who she had entrusted with her money, and he went to a bank and tried to withdraw it, him being a black gentleman, and yeah, I'm pulling the race card because it's a fact, they would have been double and triple checking his credentials, and they probably still wouldn't have given him the money without her there. And how do I know this? Because I can remember a few years back when I had went to the bank with this white woman who was a friend of mine at the time, and she was giving me some money. She was helping me out. I was homeless. And I went with her to her bank and she withdrew the money. And instead of waiting until we got outside of the bank, right there in the middle of the bank, she's counting out money to give to me. And boy, did the bank officer come over. Miss So and so, is everything okay? And I wanted to say, yes, everything is okay. Can she give me money without you thinking I'm here robbing her? And first of all, how stupid is that? I would have never, well, I wouldn't have done it anyway. But the fact that they would even assume that I would be sticking her up in the bank just really threw me. But my point is that there's still a double standard when it comes to us, and that's a fact of life. But moving on to the story, the thing is that this woman was siphoning off money from this man, and in the end, she killed him. She buried him under a slab of concrete in the property next door to her house. And she threw lime on his body because that supposedly will disintegrate human bodies. But you know, God is good. It didn't work. Because when she was finally caught, and she was caught through her own stupidity, she wasn't as smart as she thought she was, because she drew another person in, and under the pretense of waiving his debt, because this was a friend of Mr. Shakespeare who had borrowed, I think, about $63,000. He had a barbershop, and she tried to pull him in as her alibi, saying that she would excuse the debt, because now, remember, she was over all the accounts. And so she had that power to waive his debt. And the guy that she chose, although he was a friend of Mr. Shakespeare, he also didn't feel right about the arrangement because he didn't know that his friend was dead. She had told him that he had just went off, and the most wicked thing that I thought about the whole story was the fact that she made a recording for the mother using this friend, imitating Brother Abraham's voice, so that the mother would think that her son was calling when in fact it wasn't her son. And I guess being of old age and maybe even hard of hearing, she bought the lie and assumed everything okay, but the police were on to her. And so they wound up getting the brother who was part of this trickery, and I want to use another word, but and so they had him become a CI, confidential informant, and they wired him. He actually made some contraption in a can of Red Bull where he hid the tape recorder, and got her on camera admitting that the man was dead and he was buried, and she even asked him to move the body. Now, long story short, she wound up getting caught and she was sentenced to life in prison. And my thought personally is that she spent every single day in prison thinking about what she did to this God-fearing man. You know, the word clearly says, touch not my anointed. And the fact that this brother was a God-fearing man, and he loved the Lord, and he was generous, and he gave freely. He was one of God's anointed. And I don't know if they had a physical relation. In some reports, it said that they were strictly friends. But she had moved into this brother's house. So I don't think you can get much closer than that. Now, it is possible to live in someone's house and not have a relationship with them. But according to the girlfriend, she was stirring up all kinds of trouble within the household, to the point where the girlfriend and the man were fighting all the time. And it was over this woman. And I could imagine that having another woman in the household with you and your man could create problems, especially if you didn't agree for her to be there. So that already was a hot mess and very messy. I suspect that there was some type of relationship, because one, if you go to her social media pages, well, they're probably not up now, but when they were up, there were pictures of her scantily dressed, showing off her assets. And as you can see, she had dyed her hair blonde, and was getting her sexy on. And so I would suspect that and this is the case with a lot of people with money. Timothy 6:10 clearly says, "For the love of money is the root of all evil. And while some covet it after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows." So, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. I thought I was over it, but apparently not. So, bear with me. I look forward to your comments about me coughing. I would say that when a person loves money, there's very little they wouldn't do to get it. And this is why you have people who are willing to prostitute themselves for money and do all sorts of other things, such as killing people and falsely accusing people, and just and writing bad checks. All of these things are connected to the love of money. And this was something that, his family and his friends said that he did not love the money. Like everyone who purchases these tickets, they're hoping to win, but the reality of winning doesn't set in until you actually win. And in the case of Brother Abraham, he regretted the win. So I felt compelled to share this with you guys, because it's one of the saddest stories that I've come across. And there's been others as well who've won lottery and wound up dead as the result of putting their trust and faith in people that they thought loved them or thought were their friends. And mind you, this woman only knew him 4 months before she killed him. So she had to work overtime to build up trust in 4 months. But again, the fact that the brother was illiterate was not in his favor. Because I know an adult right now who is illiterate, and he has a family member conducting all his business for him. But unfortunately, he doesn't have anything going for himself, because he's the one with all the talent. He's a very talented musician, and he's put together a big group, and he's out and he's performing and stuff. But because he's illiterate, he doesn't know what he's paid for the shows. He only knows what his family member gives him. And he's content with that because he trusts this person. And I would say that as an adult, we want to be responsible for ourselves. And especially when it comes to our lives, you want to know that the things you have attained in life are actually yours. This was what happened with Tupac. He found out that a lot of the things that he thought he owned actually were owned by Death Row. And he was very upset about that. And he's not the only case, especially in the industry. There are many cases of people who have been tricked by business managers. And Pac was not illiterate, but he did not have the business savvy that he needed to control his assets. And he didn't know the questions to ask. And he did not know how to handle his business. So I'm not going to go any more on about this story. It's tragic enough as it is. So it's no need to belabor it. But I'm glad she's in jail. I hope she rots there. And that's a fact. And it may not be a very Christian thing to say, but The fact of the matter is that's how I feel. And Lord, if I'm having a wrong feeling about this, then please deliver me from that feeling. But I can't stand injustice. And what happened to this man was unjust. I'm going to go into prayer. Lord, in the name of Jesus. A lot of people today, and it's not just the youth, it's everybody, Lord, the old, the young, the middle-aged, they are in love with that almighty dollar. And I'm asking you, Lord, in the mighty name of Jesus, to help people see beyond this filthy piece of paper that is running this world. You said in your word that you would provide for us, that if you provide for the birds of the air, then, and they do not worry. You said do not worry, because you know the things we need. So Lord, I am asking you to help the people to meet their needs so that they will not be worried about money. It is indeed the love of money that is the root of all evil. And if this presentation can help some people get a grasp on what it is that they're obsessed with and put it in its proper perspective and take example from the life of the brother Abraham Shakespeare, who gave the money away because he knew that that was what you expected him to do, then maybe we will be a better world, because there are those of us who are living well and eating well, but our neighbors are hungry. And they're people, even just walking up and down the street, we see homeless people who are hungry, who may need to go somewhere and take a shower, who might need car fare to get to where they're going, to get to a shelter. And I ask you to soften the hearts of those of us who have it to give and are selfish. Teach us to give, to acknowledge that we are merely the caretakers of the money that you've blessed us with. I'm asking these things in Jesus' mighty name. I want to thank you, as always, for the subscribers. Thank you for the trolls. Hopefully one day they will find, I pray that the trolls will find happiness in this lifetime and move on to more productive.